approaching the Springdale area and Taylor. Tornado warning in effect until 5:15 p.m. And the time was on your screen there showing that this continues to track toward the north and east. Springdale 9 minutes, Taylor Community 12 minutes. Let's include Oxford in this one. And we'll do that looking at the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar to lock that down. And so I would put it just into southwest Lafayette County right now, moving northeast. I'm going to take it all the way to Oxford. This is 14 minutes into Oxford. Obviously, our circulation indicator on radar here, but we'll get an update in the next couple of moments that'll put it right near the Lafayette County line. 60 miles per hour is a mile a minute. You're not going to outrun that. You need to be in your safe place. You got to be there right now. That safe place, of course, lowest floor in an interior room. Okay, folks in the control room, let's cue up the open. Let's do the open for WTVA News at 5, if we could, right now as we begin our continue our coverage.
Right now at 5, police are investigating a shooting that happened last night in Pontotoc. We will bring you the story. Plus, different parts of the viewing area have been preparing for possible heavy storms. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sonia Walls. Craig Ford is working behind the scenes. And of course, we begin tonight with the weather as tornado watches and warnings have blanketed much of the viewing area this afternoon. The Weather Authority, of course, continues to track storms and tornadoes. Let's go over to our chief meteorologist, Matt Lapon, for a first look at the Weather Authority forecast.
So let's reset for a moment here. Tornado watches continue for much of the viewing area until 8 p.m. This line back to the west, a potentially dangerous situation tornado watch box. They don't get any higher level than that, and that's because we expect, as we have seen, tornado touchdowns, in some cases long track tornado touchdowns. Not every storm's going to do that, but some have, and some have caused considerable damage. And that has been a word that we've used a lot today because that's a word that the Weather Service has used a lot in our discussions back and forth to them. In some cases, there have been substantial amounts of damage, and let's go ahead and just show you a couple of the pictures here that have come in just to underscore why we have such an elevated tone. That not the worst ever. That person apparently had never been so close to a tornado there. Joel actually passing this one along from Trace near Batesville earlier on. This was a damaging tornado that reported to be on the ground still at this moment, approaching Tippah County and probably in Tippah County, and so we'll get to that in mere seconds, but also causing some substantial damage to an airport, an agricultural airport near the Clarksdale area earlier on this afternoon. So let's get to what radar shows at this moment, and that is tornado considered to still be considerable, considered to still be on the ground for northern sections of Tippah County, approaching Walnut pretty much as we speak, as we've been talking about. This tornado has been long-lived and still is extremely strong. How far away is it from Walnut proper? Maybe 2 or 3 miles at most, approaching the Brownfield community in mere moments. I know that not a lot of folks live in the Brownfield community, but if you assume that you have a Brownfield address, we need to make sure that you are in your safe place. And where is that? First off, we want to say that because this is confirmed, there's no questioning this. It's been spotted. Debris confirms it. Spotters have said this has had damage for hours now. So where do we want to go? We want to make sure we go into a sturdy structure on the lowest floor, find a room in the middle of that structure with as many walls between you and the outside as possible, turn up the volume on your TV, and wrap up in blankets and pillows until we can give you the all clear. We can't do that yet. Let's give a couple of folks the all clear on the backside of this before we transition south on this line of thunderstorms. And obviously, all locations in back in Marshall County are good from this. At least this tornado warning. There's one down south we'll touch on in a moment. But if you live in Ashland, all these locations, New Canaan, though you're still under a tornado warning for a few minutes here, the threat has passed you to the north. Going southward along this line, what we continue to have are other strong and what we believe could be damaging tornadoes, like this one just north of Oxford. Oxford there, north of town. How far away? At this moment, we believe it is about 7 miles to your north and east, but there's another storm back southwest of you we got to track in a moment. That thunderstorm also is less than 12 miles from Etta, less than 13 miles from Cornersville, and less than 16 miles from Potts Camp, and less than 19 miles from Myrtle. Myrtle, you're not under a tornado warning, neither is Potts Camp. But both of you could be under tornado warnings within the next 10 to 15 minutes. This storm, as all of them are, is continuing to move about 60 miles per hour toward the north and east. So I'm going to make sure we clip Myrtle in the first track, and then I'm going to adjust it and clip Potts Camp in case it shifts its track just a little bit. So time here, as you can see, Myrtle, we're talking 20 minutes. The Burke community in 7 minutes. Darden in 15 minutes. Tornado at this moment believed to be on the ground. So we got to be very careful. Okay, let's do the northern track. Make sure we catch Potts Camp in that one. And Potts Camp, as you can see, we're talking 15 minutes for you, assuming it goes on more of a northerly track. Let's go south and west. Other storms, less organized looking on here, but still with rotation that could potentially try to produce a tornado. We go to the wind mode to do some confirmation. And unfortunately, when we get out here in western Lafayette County, northern Yalobusha County, south and east of Batesville as well here, we can definitely track strong rotation, but we're looking fairly high up into thunderstorms. So we struggle with some issues closer to the ground with this. Let's get the gate-to-gate shear on that. Let's track this into Oxford, and then we do have some new information coming in. So we'll wait to get to that for just a moment. The track on this, if it gets to Oxford, 13 minutes or less. That's assuming that the location is accurate on radar. Radar isn't perfect, so let's go forward 11 minutes into Oxford from round 1. And then one behind that, at longest 20 minutes, more like 15. So the next 30 minutes in Oxford, be in your safe place. Enough said. Our meteorologist Joel Young has been helping us out behind the scenes, as has John DeLusick and some members of the North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters. Joel has new information on these thunderstorms. Joel?
Yeah, this is out of Benton County, just west of Walnut, obviously. Multiple injuries reported just north of Ashland, and a command post has been set up at the fire station and powers out throughout the city of Ashland. So, but again, that's the same storm that would be over near the Walnut area.
Yeah, just north of Walnut, about to start to cross into south central Tennessee. Yeah, no, that's a bad one. That's been as violent as just about any tornado we've covered in recent years. That one's really, really bad. That's unfortunate to hear. The damage reports on that go all the way, as we mentioned, back past Clarksdale. So it's been on the ground. Now we're talking, well, how long has it been on the ground? We're talking probably 100 miles or more. That's the definition of long track tornado. Substantial, damaging. If we go back to the southwest, we still have an area back here that's still fertile and could see development back toward Cleveland. As we lose the heating of the day, the sun's down now. As we lose the heating of the day, these thunderstorms have less and less energy to work off of. So the ones that have established themselves will have more of a tendency to stay rotating, continue to try to produce tornadoes. The less established ones will have a more difficult time becoming established. Nonetheless, we're going to have to watch this area back here because some of these thunderstorms could be on a track that will try to take them closer to, say, Coffeyville or perhaps Bruce or Pontotoc or Tupelo eventually. That's the zone we're going to have to watch. But the later we move in the evening, the less we start to run out of shear, the less instability you have. We start to run out of the components of this equation that produce tornadoes. So that's a consideration that hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. We're not saying that it's for sure, but could limit that ability just a little bit. But Lafayette County most certainly under the gun from multiple rotations, multiple circulations, multiple thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes right now. If I'm looking at this, I clearly see on Storm Track Doppler radar probably 3 areas that could be tornadoes. One near Shumford, one near Taylor, one along the Lafayette-Marshall County line. All 3 of these could be tornadoes. All 3 of these, when we go to the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, have substantial, what we call gate-to-gate shear. Right there. And the wind mode is lagging just a little bit. So let's go up a few scans so we get it right where it needs to be. And it looks weaker once you go up a few scans, but they're near Shumford, as you can see, approaching Taylor, and also north of Oxford. All rotations at this point believed to be tornadoes and considered to potentially still be trying to cause damage at this moment. Not as catastrophic, and that's about as hard a word as I can give you, as a storm up near Walnut, but substantial nonetheless. Our meteorologist Joel Young has new information on the thunderstorm up near Walnut. Joel, go ahead.
That's right. We just got a report. This was confirmed wedge on the ground on Highway 72, just east of Walnut now.
Just east of Walnut on 72.
Would that make sense?
I would say the spotter's probably on 72. The spotter's probably on 72 east looking north and seeing, and that's a jargon term when we say wedge. What that means, it's a large, violent, about as big as a tornado gets. So it just looks like a huge wedge, and so that's this thunderstorm here. It's now crossed up into Tennessee. It's between Middleton and Pocahontas. We're going to disengage from this thunderstorm, even though it is still easily our strongest thunderstorm, because it's now crossing out of the WTVA viewing area. For interests in Alcorn County, which is under a tornado warning, Corinth, you're in the clear from this. Theo, you're in the clear. Crumtown, Kossuth, Rienzi, all in the clear from this thunderstorm. It's going to stay up here as it moves through into and through McNairy County up there in Tennessee. Still probably going to continue to cause substantial damage. So a very strong thunderstorm. But our big thunderstorms continue to strengthen here around Lafayette County, and we do anticipate that we will see a new tornado warning issued that does probably include Union as well as Tippah and perhaps even Alcorn counties. I'm going to try to see if I can get Corinth in this track here, because this northern rotation is heading toward you. As we look at this track, you can see taking it toward the north and east. We're talking Myrtle in 13 minutes. Tornado at this point believed to be on the ground. Ripley, 27 minutes. Boonville, 45 minutes. Corinth, 55 minutes. And 62 minutes in Burnsville, just over an hour. Tornado believed to be on the ground. While you are not under tornado warning in Union or in southern and central Tippah County or Alcorn County yet is the word. It's coming. Next few minutes, that warning is going to come out. And you could make the same argument for these storms farther south, though they are marginally weaker. Nonetheless, they are probably going to hold together and could affect locations closer to New Albany, and then eventually approaching Ecru and perhaps even Baldwin or Boonville if they hold together. Let's go a little closer on these, because we're talking close call territory here for Oxford, and I don't know if we ever got an MDOT cam. Let's try to see if we can find one pointed south here in a moment. And let's go to the wind mode, storm track Doppler radar. If some of this feels repetitive, it absolutely is repetitive. We have to continue to probe and prod this, because we don't want to unnecessarily freak people out. But the reality is when you have one of these long track tornadoes in this environment, it's awful close to that. The environment is still possible to have damaging tornadoes out of these thunderstorms. Pixel to pixel wind change, about 90 miles per hour out of rotation 1. It's not as substantial out of rotation 2, but we're also still looking at an angle that's not going to be optimal for seeing this. So rotation 1, let's get an exact lock on the location, then we'll go down in street level. So street level rotation, this is going to be a close call, 95 mile per hour pixel to pixel wind change. The location we're looking at here on radar is near Taylor Road, south and west of Oxford. This is coming to Oxford. We've been saying it for more than an hour. This thunderstorm is coming to town pretty much now. It's going to be close. 6 minutes is at the longest. That'd be the middle of town. Southwest portion of town, we're talking 4 or 5 minutes. Our photojournalist Alvin Ivey is right now hunkered down, taking shelter in Oxford, monitoring the situation. We hope to get a shot from him eventually here, but we want him in a safe place right now. We want you in that safe place. We've got to remind you where that is, and we're going to say this over and over and over, and if we get 0 weather pictures and everybody's safe, I'm a happy man. Sturdy structure, lowest floor, middle of that structure, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, turn up the volume on your TV, wrap up with blankets and pillows, helmets, always a good idea as well. Bike helmet works, because ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you padding, trying to protect you. If you have a lot of walls, that means the wind has to go through a lot of walls to get to you. That's a good thing. That means that it's more difficult for that to happen, and want to keep you there until we can give you the all clear. So let's try to do some all clears here for a moment, just to give a few folks some all clears. But certainly Oxford proper. Taylor, we got to be in our safe place. Oxford, the University of Mississippi, we've got to be in our safe place. That also heading in the direction of Kiel. Let's track it to Kiel area. And you can see 12 minutes into Kiel, 3 minutes now into Oxford. Let's look at tornado debris mode on this to check and see if we have debris. I don't think I have anything that's strong enough at this moment to indicate tornado debris, so that's a good sign. But debris happens after the fact. We can't detect debris before it destroys something. So that's not a preventative or a predictive tool. That's a confirmation tool. The second circulation here, now moving into southwest Lafayette County at this moment, with a speed still also around 60 miles per hour. And so now you're going to see Oxford with a different time. That's because after the first one that's about less than 5 minutes away moves through, there's another rotation that could be a tornado. Less impressive, less strong, but we got to be careful nonetheless. Current time is 5:12 p.m. as we continue to do tornado warning coverage for a number of severe thunderstorms capable of potentially producing tornadoes here on WTVA News at 5 o'clock. We also appreciate all the folks watching us in WLOV. Sometimes if you have signal trouble on one channel, you can flip over to another. So if you're on WTVA and you have signal trouble, you can go to WLOV and vice versa, ABC, WTVA. We're on all three right now doing continuous coverage because the situation warrants it. We have a history of long track tornadoes just north and west of the viewing area, and we continue to have tornadoes potentially on the ground at this moment. And I believe our live stream on Facebook just died. If you were watching us there and that just died, we're going to be here for a while. And of course, if you lose your television signal, we'll be streaming live at WTVA.com/live right now with that information as well. Yeah, if you want to load it on your phone, bring it on over here. We can do that. My phone. Okay, we appreciate it. We have to do a little house cleaning behind the scenes here to make sure we're up to date and we're all in line with what we need to do. Most locations right now, as you'll notice, we're still good. I mean, we're talking a long time, even though you're under a tornado watch in Starkville, in Clay County there, in Lowndes, Noxubee, Winston, Choctaw counties. All of these locations, there's no real imminent tornado threat in the next couple of hours. The storms to your south have weakened substantially. It's not impossible one of these strengthens again like that one south of Meridian has, but the main focus is going to be from these storms moving in from the north and west as we go through the evening. Let's go ahead and go to Oxford because you're pretty much ground zero right now as this thunderstorm moves in, one that at last discussion was described to be confirmed and the potential for tornado to be considerable and damage to be considerable. When we look at this on Storm Track Doppler radar, as you noticed, it was close. And as we look at this, we're seeing some lightning there. We're not seeing a whole lot at this moment, but I anticipate that picture gets a lot more interesting in the next couple minutes. Go and bring it on over, Joel. We'll go and set it here, and I'll give you this one if you want to
charge that one.
Use that one. It's charged up. Okay. All the Facebook folks, we're right back here again. Sorry about the disconnection we had there a moment ago. So tornado warning does continue for Lafayette County. Let's get the latest lock on that position, which is pretty much going to have it inside probably the city grid of what most people would consider Oxford. Oh man, that is substantial. 110 miles per hour. You better be in your safe place. That location, by the way, was the last low scan. Let's go up a couple of scans, get you the latest lock on the exact spot. Yeah, I mean, I have it city grid. I probably have it over Highway 6287 at this moment, now moving through the east side of Oxford. That's how quick these are moving. These are a mile a minute. So as soon as we go and check on one thunderstorm, we have to come back, and by the time we're here, it's moved 4 or 5 miles because it's been 4 or 5 minutes. So now this tornado, likely still to believe to be on the ground with winds at the near ground level, last time we looked at it, near 100 miles per hour, is probably on the east side of Oxford at this exact moment. Likely a tornado that is on the ground, likely a tornado that has a potential to produce damage. I'm not going to say it's likely to produce damage, but there's definitely a substantial potential there. I mean, 119 miles per hour, even when we go back to the last scan, the lowest level, which now still puts it, of course, through Oxford at this moment. So this is substantial. Let's continue to track it toward the north and east. Tornado warning continues for Lafayette County and will likely be extended into sections of Union County shortly. Continue live video. Apparently we're having data issues. Always a good sign. Etta, New Albany, as you can see there. Myrtle, 26 minutes if you still assume that 60 mile per hour movement from the current location. New Albany in about 29 minutes. Not under a warning now, but could be placed under a warning soon. It remains a possibility that we have to contend with. Let's look at the northern storm here. About to exit, this was the stronger tornado warning thunderstorm about 10 minutes ago. The one closer to Oxford has really spun up. This one has weakened. Okay, that happens. One storm is pulling some of the energy from another one, and so it just kind of goes back and forth. It's a tug. They're all fighting for the amount of moisture because it's December, and there's not so much out there that they all are going to be good with it. They're going to fight for it to a certain extent. And so near Cornersville, we still have to assume that this could be rotation that could produce a tornado. I'm not going to say is likely producing one at this point, but this is on a trajectory that'll take it toward Cotton Plant within probably about the next 15 to 20 minutes. Cornersville right now, Myrtle in 10 minutes, Blue Mountain in about 18 minutes, Ripley in about 23 minutes as it moves toward the north and east. Tornado, somewhat in the weakening phases on that one, but the tornado that south of Oxford is anything but in the weakening phase. Let's get the latest lock. So that's my latest low-level scan. Let's see if we can go up a couple scans. Nope, I still have it probably southeast part of town. Let's see if we can get an MDOT cam, Joel. Okay, we'll see if we can get the MDOT cams have been wreaking havoc with Joel's computer today. Has that been the problem?
I'm not sure. I've just used it while they were thinking.
Okay, so we'll see if we can get that back here in a moment. But obviously now just east of Oxford, tornado believed to be on the ground, one of our strongest signatures that we've had. It has marginally gone down. And let's go to the debris mode on Storm Track Doppler radar. Let's just make sure that we don't have some kind of tornado debris on it. Well, okay, so that is back one scan at 5:14. I'm going to go to the precip mode on Storm Track Doppler radar at 5:15. Yeah, no, that's conceivable that we had some tornado damage being detected in Storm Track Doppler radar. When you see, and I'm going to circle the location, we go back to it. Yeah, that little blob of black there, that's where it's saying all stuff is all sorts of different sizes. It's not all raindrops, it's raindrops and maybe branches from trees, and so it's a bunch of different sizes. It correlates poorly. That's a sign that this probably was at least on the ground for at least a brief period of time when it was south of Oxford. That also gives us a better idea of the track of that as it continues to move east. So, by the way, for newsroom purposes, Mel, let's check on the southeast side of Oxford for either east on Highway 6 or south of town on Highway 7 for damage. Let's go ahead and go to our Joel Young. Joel?
I've got an MDOT traffic cam now looking south on Highway 7. Lots of lightning, and that's some really bright lightning. I mean, that. Just keep watching.
Yeah. No, I believe you. I know how that goes. So this is the heavy rainfall. This is what you're fighting. If you're going out there and you're trying to storm spot, don't. It's not worth it. It's not worth your life. You know, it's night. We'd rather err on the side of this could produce and then verify it a little later, as opposed to I can verify it's a tornado because it just hit me. We don't want to do that. We want to keep you in your safe place. We want to keep you inside a sturdy structure until we can give you the all clear, and we can't do that yet. If you live in Oxford proper, there's still another rotation that's just to your south and west. We'll go to the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar to track that. And I say southwest, and that rotation's pretty close to overhead now. That storm has obviously picked up a little speed. Let's come a couple different ways at this. That's the slower positioning on that. No, I would put it probably 2 or 3 miles southwest still, but it has weakened some into Oxford in about the next 4 to 5 minutes. Another rotation. So we're going to have to watch that one nonetheless. But it looks like the one that's just kind of east of town is proven to be a little more substantial. Kiel, Etta, we're talking 5 minutes for Kiel, 14 minutes for Etta. Tornado at this point, at least in the last 15 minutes, it's been on the ground. So I'd still like to make that assumption. Weather Service Memphis has gone with a severe thunderstorm warning for the thunderstorm that's now moving into northern Union County. Part of the reason for that is trying to take the event into perspective. What we've had so far is one extremely dangerous, devastating, catastrophic tornado that moved from Clarksdale and tracked toward Holly Springs and has now had confirmed reports of damage up near Middleton, Tennessee, just within the last few minutes on the ground for more than 100 miles. So that takes the level, everybody talks about this, up about 2 notches when you know you have the capability of that out there. But have we had, outside of that, a lot of tornado reports? I think we probably had one near Oxford the last few minutes. We've touched a lot on that. But we haven't been able to confirm that in the last 20, 30 minutes on this thunderstorm near Myrtle. The rotation has weakened substantially. It's still probably producing hail, still probably producing some strong winds. No, it still has rotation 50, 60 miles per hour, but it's not up in excess of 100 miles per hour like it was before. So still, if you live in Myrtle, hey, the same rules we say for tornado safety and severe thunderstorm safety, they're the same. Inside a sturdy structure on the lowest floor in the middle to protect yourself from whatever's coming in from the outside. So in Myrtle, in Hickory Flat, we need to be in our safe place regardless of whether this is a tornado or not. It's less likely to be a tornado than it was just a few minutes ago, but could still be. And it could still produce straight line wind damage nonetheless. And these thunderstorms are going to weaken and strengthen as they go through the next, 30, 40 minutes. We've lost, now the sun's down, the heating of the day, and that's trying to fight these thunderstorms, maintaining strength. And that's a good thing. We want that fight to happen because that means that they're not easily staying strong and the rotation staying extremely significant. For folks who live in Corinth, as we mentioned a moment ago, just kind of looking to your north, yes, you still have a substantial tornado on the ground up near Selmer, Tennessee. You don't need to be traveling north if you live in Alcorn County. You need to stay put. We want to keep you in a sturdy structure for now. We can do all of our holiday traveling tomorrow, myself included, because tomorrow we'll have some thunderstorms, nothing like this. Stay at home tonight, and let's stay safe. So tornado warning continues, multiple tornado warnings, but in particular what we're looking at, and we're going to kind of bring this back toward the south. Obviously, we're looking up there into Tennessee for those tornado warnings still in effect there. Tornado warnings, a pair of them for Lafayette County because there are two circulations. One pretty much on the doorstep of Oxford. We go back to that Oxford MDOT cam for a moment. And looking at that, what I see is a whole lot of rainfall, which is exactly what I expect to see, exactly what you should expect to see. Even when the most dangerous part of this thunderstorm moves ahead, you're going to have no visibility. So there's no bother spotting it. Let's stay indoors. Let's stay safe. Let's give some all clears for a moment here. Shutford Community, all clear. Water Valley, all clear. Springdale, all clear. Wallace Creek, if you live around Enid Lake, all clear. Oakland, all clear. But there are still some thunderstorms back to the west that we're tracking. These thunderstorms, when they get back here, the farthest south and west by itself, sometimes the rotation gets a little better. So we have to watch that pretty closely because that eventually could become a problem. Okay, as anticipated, new tornado warning issued. Now, this is for the northern Union County. They've gone ahead because it's wrapped back up, that thunderstorm there near Hickory Flat. Now, look at that again. See, this is the way it's going to go. Weaken a little bit, strengthen a little bit, weaken a little bit, strengthen. We're in the strengthening cycle now. Latest scan comes in, Weather Service Memphis accurately so pulls on a tornado warning. You can see just right there how it's, I mean, even in the precipitation mode here, how it's hooking around. These storms moving 60 miles per hour. That's a mile a minute, and it's not obeying roadways. So you're going to have a hard time getting out of the way of one of these. So you need to stay in a sturdy structure if you can. Blue Mountain, Ripley, let's keep you in that safe place. Let's track this, and I'm gonna take it a little south here in a moment. But Blue Mountain, 8 minutes, Ripley, 14 minutes. Safe place now, please. Middle of lowest floor. Let's get in really close. Let's talk about some folks. Let's talk about Myrtle. And let's make sure Hickory Flat's okay. This is kind of attempted to shoot the gap between, and there it is. Spike right back up, 94 miles per hour. 50 just a minute ago, back up to 90. That's the way these are going to go as it attempts to rotate faster and try to produce a tornado. Let's go to the debris mode on Storm Track Doppler radar. No debris. Nothing right there where that circulation's the strongest. We'll have to keep checking back on that, but thankfully at this moment, no debris on this thunderstorm. Keep our fingers crossed we can keep it that way. Let's go up a few scans on Storm Track Doppler radar, get our exact lock on our location here. And we're ahead of that. Okay, so now with the latest scans, we're up here, 76 miles per hour, east of Hickory Flat is probably a more realistic location. As we go up, we're still waiting on the lowest radar data, lowest scan to come in. With that data, I put it in Blue Mountain in 6 minutes, Ripley in 12 minutes. Your moments are ticking away. We need to be getting to a safe place if we live up here in Tippah County. It'll be to, and I believe that is County Road 825 within probably the next 2 minutes, approaching County Road 818. This is going to move pretty close to Blue Mountain, if not through Blue Mountain. We need to be in our safe place, okay? Myrtle, we want to stay there because there's another one upstream. So Myrtle, tornado, a little north of Union County at this moment, but we need to be in a safe place in Myrtle because there's another one upstream, and we just need to stay there. There's no reason to come in, go out, go try to look and see what happened. Let's just wait till it's all over, and then we can look and see what happened, okay? Looking at these thunderstorms back toward Kiel, 73 mile per hour, what we call gate-to-gate shear on that rotation. Let's go up a few scans. Let's make sure that we have the latest lock on that rotation. Boy, that's come down a little bit from the last scan. Actually, I wouldn't buy that 73. I think that's underdoing it a little bit. I think we're just far enough out that sometimes it underdoes this a little bit. Near the Kiel community, that is a tornado, I believe, at least in the generation phase, and could potentially be on the ground at this moment. Etta, 8 minutes on that rotation. We're talking Darden in 11 minutes, 14 minutes in Poolville, Myrtle in 16 minutes, and Shari in 19 minutes. Tornado at this instant believed to be still in the generation phase or potentially attempting to touch down. And so even though right at this moment you are not under a tornado warning if you live in New Albany, probably one's coming. It's just a matter of time. Moving 60 miles per hour, this is coming close enough to you that I believe the Weather Service will probably end up pulling on a tornado warning, and the time for you in New Albany is 20 minutes, assuming that exact location. Might be closer to about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, so some of the information coming in from the emergency manager in Union County, a lot of lightning at this point. They can't confirm any sort of damage on this thunderstorm, and really not a whole lot of wind. Most folks in Union County haven't seen the worst of it, this clip north, but that one back toward Kiel, that'll change that. We'll have a lot more wind and a potential for a tornado increasing soon because of that. Let's check in with Joel and John and just to kind of get a feel for where we're at. Have we had any reports coming in the last few minutes here? Any pictures, things of that nature?
We had a report. Tell me again, what was it that we just...
It was brother, who was the reporter?
He said
With the North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters?
Yes.
Holly Springs, Red Cross, that they had people entrapped in houses and automobiles were turned over.
Okay, so apparently according to the Red Cross in Holly Springs, the report was that we had, one more time, that you had people trapped in houses?
People trapped in houses and automobiles were turned over.
Okay, that's Jonathan with North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters. That's not good. That's a sign of a very strong tornado, and that's the tornado that moved through there around an hour ago, and is still on the ground up in south central Tennessee. So a substantial situation. So we got to be careful. I mean, that tells you what the atmosphere is capable of. By the way, this severe thunderstorm warning back here, though it's rated as a severe thunderstorm warning, the folks have placed it as that. In the tag for it, tornado possible is still mentioned. So we're going to have to still watch these, that maybe these become upgraded. But thankfully, they aren't quite as intense as they were a little bit earlier. But it doesn't take an intense tornado to cause damage. It takes a brief tornado. We could still get brief tornadoes out of these, and we could still, at this moment, have the potential that one of these tornadoes could continue to strengthen and occur once again. So current time is at this moment 5:30. Meteorologist Matt Lobhan alongside meteorologist John DeLusick and Joel Young, some folks with North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters.